We welcome you to Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and Rogers Centre, where the Sox are in the hunt for a sweep tonight. They've won the first two against the Toronto Blue Jays from the AL East. Thanks for joining us once again. Jason Benetti, Steve Stone, and you, wherever you may be. The Sox, 17 runs the first two games of this series, spearheaded by maybe an unlikely guy considering early in the season from Avi Garcia.
Coming in, Avi was really cold, missing just about everything, but coming here against Stroman and Dickey, he's really gotten the job done this series. And last night, took advantage of a knuckleball that came up rolling, and he rolled it out of the ballpark. His third home run of the year, and then continued with a drive into right field. So Avi hitting the ball very well, had a wonderful night last night. And this sacrifice fly to go with it. He was robbed at third by Matt Dominguez, otherwise he would have had a perfect night. And as you can see, 4 for 7, 4 runs scored, a double, a homer, 2 driven in, and a walk. And hopefully he feels comfortable enough to get that batting average high into the 2s.
Well, the guy pitching tonight for the Sox always has a tough task because he's the guy following Chris Sale in the rotation, Jose Quintana.
Quintana's been very good against Toronto lifetime. He's 4-2 with an ERA under 2, and last time out against Texas, he was brilliant. He went 7 innings, didn't give up any runs, struck out 4, and used that high fastball to his advantage. He'll go upstairs and throw it by a whole lot of hitters, even though it's not overwhelming. Looking for win number 3 tonight against a very good offensive ball club. He's getting a whole lot of help from the bullpen. There is no doubt that the last 8 games, the best ERA in the major leagues belongs to the Sox, .83. As you can see, everything else is very impressive. David Robertson securing his 8th save. I would think that this has been a very successful trip.
Well, the Sox are off to their best start in 21 games since the 2005 World Series winners. We'll see if they can sweep the Jays tonight for the first time since '05 at Rogers Centre. First pitch coming next.
White Sox baseball on CSN Chicago is brought to you in part by Toyota. Discover more in a Toyota. Visit buyatoyota.com or your local Toyota dealer today. Let's go places. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois. Through it all. Audi. Truth in engineering. And by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV.
The sun has made an appearance north of the border. This is Game 3 of a 3-game series and Game 3 of a 7-game road swing for the Sox, aiming for a sweep tonight that would put them at 16-6 with a victory. They are 9-3 so far this season on the road as Jose Quintana gets riled up for the start here at Rogers Centre.
Toronto comes in at 10-12. They're 2.5 games in back of Baltimore. That's the next stop for our ball club. And Baltimore, a fine offensive team. So is this Toronto team. But the last couple games, for the most part, this high-powered offense has been kept in check.
Jay's batting average is down to 242. after a couple of rough outings late in the game, game 1 and game 2. Adam Eaton leads off for the Sox, then Jimmy Rollins and Jose Abreu, Todd Frazier, Melky Cabrera, and Brett Lawrie 4 through 6. Avi Garcia, who we told you about in the open, then Deontay Navarro, who's had a great series, and Austin Jackson rounds out the 9 for Robin Ventura.
Let's take a look at how John Gibbons going to line up his defense for the Torontos. Michael Saunders, Kevin Pillar, a wizard in center field, and Jose Bautista in right. Then it's Josh Donaldson back in the field again after getting hit in the leg. Troy Tulowitzki, Ryan Goins, and Matt Dominguez shifts from third to first base. Russell Martin making his first appearance of the series, and our Lexus pursuing perfection starting pitcher is Marco Estrada. He has a lot of pitches, throws just about everything. He's added a cutter to his repertoire and has one of the best change-ups around. It's a circle change. He can throw it to you 3 times and you still won't be looking for it. There we look at the umpires. John Tumpane behind the plate. Lance Barksdale at first. The crew chief, Dan Isonia, is at second base, and Alan Porter is at third base tonight, as the Sox are hoping that the offense that they've shown in this series continues tonight. Estrada, a pretty tough customer.
Came up through the Nationals organization, followed that with a stint in Milwaukee, and now here with the Jays, a former reliever turned starter, and off we go here at Rogers Center. Sox with 10 runs last night, 3 separate innings with 3 runs apop. And the comeback win in the opener from down 5-1, scoring 6 unanswered. First pitch swing for Adam Eaton at 7:07 local time, 6:07 Central time.
Eaton had a single in the 7th and then came up in the 9th. His first home run of the year wasn't a cheapie. Adam's going to hit in the teens again this year in home runs.
Ball and a strike on Eaton, who at the top of the card already has 9 multiple hit games for the Sox in their first 21 games this season. One and two for Eaton, who opened his career as a major league player with 4 multi-hit games in his first 5 playing in the National League West. There's that changeup, Steve.
Boy, it's a good one, and unfortunately, he had Adam well out in front of it. If you haven't seen it in a while, and the Sox haven't seen a lot of Estrada, they're going to be mystified early with this changeup. Same motion as he uses on the fastball. It's Adam well out in front. 1 out, 1 strikeout.
Brings up Jimmy Rollins, who's 6 for his last 15 at .262 for the year. And Russell Martin, who's back in the lineup after a neck injury kept him out the first 2, gets clobbered.
Let's take a look at what Estrada does. 43% fastball and a very high percentage of changeups. 30% of the time he'll throw that straight change. He has phenomenal confidence in it.
First base, and Dominguez for out number 2. Converted third baseman Matt Dominguez makes the play. 2 out for Jose Abreu.
Sox have scored 1 run in the first 2 innings combined of this particular series, but they're scoring late, and usually that will get the job done.
It has so far in this 3-game series, as Abreu was 2 for 5 yesterday and looks at a strike on a breaking ball to start off this at bat.
Started last year with Toronto, 13-8, ERA of 3.13. Very impressive.
Abreu fouls it back. 0-2. You mentioned throughout this week that teams have been pitching a Jose Abreu outside, down and outside, quite a bit this year. Nearly 20% of his pitches that he's seen all season have been down and away, according to Stats Inc. like that one.
Well, they're going to go out there and stay out there when they get ahead of them. And then when normally they go inside, it's inside off the plate. Trying to tie him up. He can take that inside pitch to right field with the best of them in this league. And that's called an inside-out swing, and very few people do it better than Jose. He'll have to use it here.
Back inside. Called strike 3. Bookend strikeouts for Marco Estrada and a 1-2-3 first. Blue Jays 10th in Major League Baseball in runs scored go with this lineup. Michael Saunders, Josh Donaldson, Jose Bautista, then Encarnacion, Tulowitzki, and Dominguez. Russell Martin back in the lineup, and Kevin Pillar and Ryan Goins, the 9 for John Gibbons. Stoney?
Let's see how Robin is going to line up the defense behind Jose Quintana. It's Melky, Austin, and Adam in the outfield with Frazier, Rollins, Lowry, and Abreu in the infield. Yonder Navarro once again gets a nod behind the plate. And our Lexus pursuing perfection starting pitcher is Jose Quintana. 2-1 this year, a fine ERA of 182. He's 4-2 lifetime against this team from Canada. Toronto Blue Jays with a pretty good ERA, 188 lifetime against the Jays, which is good work. They've had a good hitting team for a few years now.
38 strikeouts, 9 walks in his career against the Jays. They're hitting only .225 against him. Saunders first, one of 2 lefties back-to-back in the order. The other one being in the 9 spot, and Ryan Goins. There's strike 1.
Saunders had good at-bats against Chris Sale last night. Something that most left-handers can't say, but he's off to a hot start. This year, 59% fastballs, the curveball at 26%. Change 10%, and the cut fastball not near as much as it was in the past, only 4% of the time. And that's a pitch he has to have called. John Tom Payne called it. He was on the corner. We'll look in at Navarro as he hangs a sign.
On 1-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Why is that corner so important to him?
Well, he's going to stay away from most left-handers. If he goes in, he'll go in up off the plate. What he likes to do is throw high fastballs, but they're set up by going away to the left-hander especially. He's one of the best in the league at face-high fastballs and throwing it by people.
Still 2-2 on Saunders, who has a couple of hits and 5 at-bats against Quintana so far in his career.
Hitters this year with a swing percentage of 58.5 against Quintana's high fastballs. That's well above league average. And because he does go up and out of the zone a lot, it's very effective for him.
Second base, the high-socked Brett Lawrie for out number 1. A new look for the Canadian, Brett Lawrie.
It's a good look. It's the one that David Robertson has been sporting probably since he came into the league, and now for Brett Lawrie, he's decided that perhaps it's going to aid him in some way. Maybe he'll run faster now that he's not encumbered by longish pants.
Those pant legs will really weigh you down. It's aerodynamically unsound. 1 out for Donaldson here in the first. Low fastball starts him off. The home run leader on the Jays with 7 of them, and the run scored leader with 21. Left center field and deep, and it's off the wall. Stand-up double for Donaldson, his 16th extra base hit.
This is a bullet. It's right down the middle, and Donaldson almost takes it out of the ballpark. Navarro wants it away. Jose doesn't get it there. He throws it down the middle and thigh high, and Donaldson, bidding for his 8th home run, puts a charge into it.
Donaldson, who won the MVP last year despite not being intentionally walked once.
It's hard to intentionally walk him when you're looking at Bautista and Encarnacion.
Yeah, but you compare that as Bautista takes ball 1. You compare that to Barry Bonds, who was intentionally walked 120 times in 2004 as an MVP. It's stark.
Well, it is, but he didn't have Bautista and Encarnacion behind him. And most people.
Well, he had humans.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if these guys are not human in some
You think
respect.
they might be cyborgs?
Yeah, I mean, when they swing, they leave nothing to the imagination. Both of them swing each and every time they hit it out of the ballpark.
Well, Bautista has the 3rd highest walk percentage in Major League Baseball, 21% entering play today. Slugs this one foul. A ball and 2 strikes on him. Best news for the AL East is these guys are getting up in age. Bautista's 35. Encarnacion is 33. Tulowitzki is 31. Donaldson 30. So 2 through 5 have all cleared at least age 30. Give it 10 years, they'll be gone.
They look in pretty good shape.
Strike called for Quintana.
This one had the whole plate, and apparently Bautista was either looking for a cutter in or a curveball. You see where Navarro wants it. He puts it right there. Bautista looks back. I don't believe he can be upset at the umpiring. He just has to be upset at getting outguessed.
So first strikeout for Jose, 2 down for Encarnacion. Donaldson at second with the double. Strike 1.
The power on this Toronto team also has a price tag, and that is strikeouts. They've fanned 205 times this year. Compare that with the Sox, who have fanned 149 times. Carlos Delgado, Blue Jays home run leader all time.
Well, the run scored leader in the majors is going to stay away from home plate. Donaldson stranded on the pop-up from Encarnacion. No score after 1 from Toronto. The opening ceremonies of the 2016 Summer Olympic Games in Rio. Over 10,000 athletes, 206 nations. They will compete, including Chicago area hopefuls like swimmers Connor Dwyer and Matt Grievers from Lake Forest, and Elena Deladon from the Chicago Sky. Every event available live on the NBC family of networks beginning August 5th through the closing ceremonies August 21st. As we all root for the nations we are attached with.
Which one are you attached with? Oh, I see now. Team USA.
Why, it depends on the day. Multiple heritages for the both of us.
Yes.
Strike one to Frazier, who has 3 hits in the series, and it's 0-2.
You can't look for a big fastball from Estrada. He's got a good fastball. It sets up all of the slow stuff, and you can see with a slow curveball, a slider, a cutter, and that straight change, you got to be ready for something off speed.
Breaking ball hammered to left over Tulowitzki.
That was a good curveball. In fact, it was the exact place you want to throw it with 2 strikes on the hitter. This ball dips out of the zone, and Todd just goes down and gets it. So Estrada's curveball more over the top variety, not a whole lot of side spin on it.
You feel comfortable calling Todd Frazier a bad ball hitter after the first couple weeks of this season?
No, I think that he's got a lot of plate coverage, and he can take the ball away, which he's doing quite a bit lately, as well as he's a natural pull hitter. I mean, that's what he's always done. So that was a really good piece of hitting, because that was a tough pitch to elevate, and he was able to ease it over Tulowitzki's head.
So now Melky Cabrera, who's just 1 for 8 career against Estrada. Count in his favor at 2 balls, no strikes. .414 career slugging percentage for Melky Cabrera, now .453 this year. He's had a hot start early, and you said it, he needed that.
He was one of the keys to this team because of his left-handed presence.
Got ball 3 here with Brett Lawrie on deck.
Frazier's not taking much of a lead because he's not thinking about stealing second base.
.3-0 is high, ball 4. Tell you about our picks to click tonight with the Sox building a rally here in the 2nd inning. Melky trotting on to first. Cruz going with Avi Garcia. You've got Deoner Navarro, Stoney, and I'll take Austin Jackson. That's 7, 8, 9 in the order. The low portion of the order has been doing the damage for the Sox.
And last night it was unbelievable in the 7th, 8th, and 9th spots, so we're hoping for a duplication. Yeah,
6 runs scored by the 7, 8, 9 last night.
There's a lot of Blue Jays in the Sox clubhouse.
And here is one of them, Brett Lawrie, former Jay. Cabrera at first, Frazier at second. Estrada grinding his gears here in the 2nd inning.
Dominguez at first base believed, at least going into that at bat, Brett Lawrie was going to bunt. He was actually playing in on what would have been grass had they been able to grow it in here, but the artificial surface. Now he's moved back a couple of steps.
Dirt on the infield, real dirt for the first time this season here at Rogers Center, the former Sky Dome. Could, should be 2. Tulowitzki, Goins on to first in time.
Lawrie tripped over the foot of Dominguez at first base. Take another look at it. Goins with a good throw, and Dominguez is lucky to come away without an injury, and Lawrie is very fortunate not to turn that ankle as he hit the foot.
Former soccer player, that's a soccer-like injury that you can end up with. The slide tackle comes in and gets the ankle Frazier at third, 2 out for Avi Garcia, who's behind a fastball on the outside edge. Mammoth series for Avi Garcia at 4 for 7, a double, a homer, couple knocked in, 3 runs scored, and Frazier playing chicken with Estrada. 0-2.
Probably that would upset a younger pitcher. Estrada's been around since 2005, so he's used to guys jumping around a bit in his field of vision. Now you just have to beware of that breaking ball in the dirt.
Single walk, double play, and Avi Garcia takes ball 1.
Good stop by Russell Martin as he quickly spun to his left, able to smother that ball and save the run.
One and 2 from Estrada. It is low. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Avi Garcia. The Sox looking for their first road 3-game sweep of the Jays since May of 2005. It's a pretty good season on the south side.
It's been a while. 4 sweeps.
Goins inning over. Frazier marooned at third. Sox can't score against Estrada. Bottom 2 next.
Lottery, a new family of instant tickets where you can win up to $3 million instantly. Get ready to live large.
Well, no large scoring so far on the board here from Rogers Center. Tulowitzki, Dominguez, and Martin to face Jose Quintana, who got a strikeout, gave up a double, ground out pop-up, the anatomy of his first inning. Troy Tulowitzki, the former Rockies shortstop, is part of a real oddity having to do with playoff history in Major League Baseball. Last year, he, Ryan Goins, and Josh Donaldson all homered in one game against the Royals in the championship series. It was only the second time ever that the third baseman, shortstop, and second baseman all homered in the same postseason game. Do you have any stab at who the first might have been? Any left side of the infield plus a second baseman that would jump into your mind? Good
Lansing
power.
Lugnuts. No, I don't have an idea.
It's so strange that this is the other group to do it. It was the Boston Red Sox in 1995. But the names are not big power bats. It was John Valentin, Tim Naring, and Luis Alicea. How about that?
Not three that would jump out at you, by the
No.
way.
They wouldn't scare you like that.
Not so much. Apparently that night they did.
Yeah, in a big way.
Jose's got to make a tough pitch behind 3-1 to Tulowitzki.
And he lost him, ball 4, leadoff walk here in the second inning. Customize your own Pick 7 or Pick 14 season flex plan today. The Pick 7 and Pick 14 plans feature savings off individual game tickets. For tickets or more information, visit whitesox.com or call 312-674-1000. Luis Alicea had 47 career home runs. That's how surprising it would be that those three would be the first group to ever do it in a postseason game. Third, short, and second base all homering. Strike 1 to Dominguez.
That Dominguez has some big power. And he showed that off when he was with the Astros. Now trying to find a home and stick here with Toronto. Career batting average, not much at .233, 42 home runs, 152 driven in.
One and two. I do love that you gave some love to the Lansing Lugnuts, by the way. One of the best named minor league baseball franchises out there, a Blue Jays affiliate for a long time in the Midwest League.
And a nice logo, by the way.
Yeah. It's a lovely lug nut.
It is indeed.
Check swing, ball in the dirt. He did not go, and Tulowitzki peels off for second base.
It's going to be a wild pitch. And that's the fourth this year for Jose Quintana. Now with nobody out, Tulowitzki already in scoring position.
Be a big strikeout here if he could get Dominguez, at least early in the game. Two and two. Tulowitzki at second. Eaton tested in right, and he ranges over. Adam Eaton has had a magnificent defensive season thus far.
This is a very good play as that ball slicing away from him. Dominguez did a good job of driving it to the opposite field. But as he's done so much of this early season, Adam Eaton runs it down. And Tulowitzki not thinking about tagging up. He really shouldn't. If it gets away, he wants to make sure he's going to score. He was halfway, had to scamper back. And a big first out.
Russell Martin coming up. On that check swing, Deontay Navarro was displeased with John Tempane. Sox can't afford to get a catcher run from a ball game, though.
Can't afford to get him particularly run from the game.
Sox catching position has become an Agatha Christie novel, and then there were none behind the plate. Kevin Smith placed on the DL the day after he was scheduled to make his major league debut. Hector Sanchez has come up from AAA Charlotte.
It's our first look at Russell Martin.
You tried the other day to convince John Gibbons to give him 3 days off.
Well, they have the off day tomorrow. My feeling is with a man who has neck spasms, you know, there's no reason to try to push him. But John thought otherwise, having lost the first two of the series. He wants his #1 guy in there.
Fastball inside, 2-1 from Quintana.
Blue Jays gave Russell Martin a huge contract. He's come over, certainly stabilized their catching core. And Josh Thole, the backup.
Thole, the personal catcher for R.A. Dickey, who we saw yesterday, the knuckleballer, who the Sox beat up on. in game 2.
And also had a couple of base hits in the opening game of this series when he wasn't catching Dickey.
Strikeout for Quintana and 2 down here in the 2nd inning for Pilar.
Kevin Pillar was rested the first game of the series, played last night, made a spectacular play in right center field. He's off to a solid start, but what John Gibbons likes is the fact that he really solidifies the outfield defense. He's one of the best in baseball, and you just don't hear a whole lot about him.
Yeah, 6 defensive runs saved already this year for Kevin Pillar, the Jays center fielder. Time called. Strike 1 to Pilar, who's only 1 for 6 against Jose Quintana so far in his career.
He loves to throw that curveball on the first pitch. Close to 40% of the time, with no count at all, he'll drop it over the plate. More times than not, he gets a strike with it.
What does that do for a pitcher to throw the curveball so early in the count?
Well, what you have to do is tell the opposition you're going to throw it. You've got confidence in it. Once you get it over the plate, now it becomes a defensive instead of an offensive at bat. And we're going to start tracking things like that as far as pitches behind in the count. So far, Jose has not been behind too many of these hitters, but we're going to start figuring out how many pitches a pitcher will have thrown behind in the count, meaning 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 2-1, 3-1.
Got the corner, strike 3, and a nifty job by Quintana to wriggle off the hook after a leadoff walk. 2 deep, no score.
Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in the game, brought to you by Miller Lite.
Do you approximately know when that may be?
No, we have no approximation. The game will dictate exactly what happens. We are but servants to the game.
But pawns in the chess game of Miller Time.
And that too. Yes. By the way, I have secured a can of cocktail a la Cannaberge for you.
Thank you very much for the cranberry cocktail.
Oh, it's good.
Across the border. Seriously, folks, if you ever come to Toronto, they have better cranberry juice than we do in the States. By far. Strike 1 to Deoner Navarro, who's on a 4-game hit streak.
He had a big night last night. Hit a 2-run homer, his second. Had a base hit, scored a couple of runs, picked up a walk, and generally did his usual fine job behind the plate.
first base. Dominguez knocks it down and keeps it safe for out number 1.
In talking with a lot of folks around the Blue Jays and people that watch them every day, they couldn't be more complimentary of Dioner Navarro. He just ran into his numbers game because Josh Tolle has to be around as long as you have R.A. Dickey because he can handle the knuckleball. So with Russell Martin on a big contract, they didn't have room for Dioner Navarro, which is much to our benefit. And they were talking about his contribution to Marco Estrada, the fact that he really helped Estrada develop a cutter, which has given him the best year of his career last year, and working on another one here this year.
Ball 1 high to Austin Jackson, who had 3 hits in last night's game, including a 2-run double in the 5th. Fly ball from Jackson. Bautista for out number 2. With that routine out, Sox fans, join us as we welcome back White Sox greats on a homecoming weekend, Friday, May 20th to Sunday, May 22nd, when the Sox battle the Royals. Homecoming weekend is presented by the Village of Bedford Park. Bring your business home to Bedford Park and win big. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com.
Let's see if Adam Eaton might be thinking about a bunt.
Boy.
Well, he was thinking about it, but with the pitch low and away, he pulled it back.
I asked for all of our audience, why did you know that was coming?
Because he was handled pretty easily the first time up, because he did not bunt in last night's game, and that's one of the things that he wants the advanced scouts who are here from Baltimore to know, that he is going to lay down a bunt because it's going to bring him in on the corners. If they don't know already, because they've seen him, he just wants to refresh their memories because it's a 4-game series in Baltimore coming up starting tomorrow.
Ball to strike from Estrada. I don't know that all of our viewers know about advanced scouts and what they do and how they're employed by teams. What exactly is their goal?
Well, they start, and they'd love to see the ball club one trip through the rotation if they could, certainly the series before, and they'll write down tendencies of various players. So an advanced scout is going to let you know who's a first ball hitter, who's swinging at the first pitch consistently. They'll let you know who will hit the ball to the opposite field. They will let you know where the soft spots are on each and every hitter, because they vary. What a guy does now doesn't mean he's going to do it in June.
Up 2-2 on Eaton.
And so they send these guys around, usually a series or 2, to see a team. They want to see every one of the starting pitchers, and then you never know who's going to work in your series. But in a 4-game series, you know just about everybody is going to work, except in this case Jose Quintana. So you got a pretty good idea about what they do, and they're invaluable when they're good.
Pulled to first, and Dominguez for a 1-2-3 inning for Marco Estrada, his 2nd inning as such, and we played 2.5 north of the border. Sox insider Dan Hayes all season long on that locomotive and on CSNChicago.com. Presented by The Great Escape. Pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and more. Escape your everyday. Shop The Great Escape. Dan was a train conductor before he got the insider's job.
And a pretty good one.
Yes. Looks great in a funny hat.
In fact, he's conducted that train in Houston quite a bit. That one that rides over the rails on an Astro home run.
Speaking of over the rails, welcome tonight to our broadcast. 1-0 on Goins. And fouled away 1-1 to the 28-year-old second baseman who is feeling the ache of that foul ball.
That one got him square on the toe. We'll take another look at it as finally the trainer comes out to tell him that, you know what, I know it looks bad, it just doesn't hurt that much.
Is that helpful, would you
no,
say?
No, absolutely not. That actually got him on the instep, and
jeez,
he is really writhing in pain, as it were.
Talented young player, Ryan Goins.
Yeah, he's a defensive wizard. The batting average isn't quite where he would like it to be, but he's saved a whole lot of runs, and pitchers love to have him behind them. So take another look.
Well, he's up and walking on a play like that, and I know it didn't hit him in the leg like the guy I'm about to say, but I always think of Jermaine Dye.
That was right on the shin.
Yeah. He's going to stay in the game.
He says he wants the bat back. Now, if he were a crafty veteran, he'd probably lay down a bunt now. But I don't think he's that crafty or that the foot feels that good.
Yeah, you'd have to have a pretty outstandingly quick recovery.
Not if he drags it. Left-hander on the mound, drag it to the right side.
What a long play that would be, though. Foul the ball off your foot just so you can lay down the bunt single. Rollins off his glove. A triumphant return to the batter's box for Ryan Goins.
Last inning was a walk to lead off the inning, and Jose pitched over that. This time a base hit to lead off the inning. As he gets a fastball, that one on the inner portion of the plate, and caroms off the glove of Jimmy Rollins. I talked to Rollins about this surface. He said he grew up in Philadelphia on the artificial surface, so it doesn't bother him all that much. He has to get used to here now playing on dirt, which he has never seen before in this ballpark.
Joe McEwing, the third base coach, has a good look at it too. I was talking to Joe about it yesterday briefly, and he said his feeling is when the ball hits the dirt, you get a lower hop. The ball flattens out once it hits the dirt, and that played out on the ball to Rollins just there.
Well, what Jimmy Rollins said about the hops on a true artificial surface field, meaning no dirt, is that if the ball is hopping, it stays hopping. If the ball is down, he puts a glove down because the ball isn't going to hop up. You're not going to get a bad hop. On this surface, the ball actually picks up more spin as it travels from the artificial surface to the dirt.
0-1 on Saunders. Way behind, 0-2.
It's that high fastball that Jose has used so well. Now he has Saunders in a hole.
Leadoff man on for the second straight inning for the Blue Jays. We're trying to avoid the sweep tonight. Strike three from Quintana.
Perfect pitch upstairs. It worked very well the pitch before. He went back there because he's not shaking off Yonder Navarro very much, if any. You'd have to think that after he saw the cut at the pitch before, he figured go up there again and get him.
So, 1 out, 1 on for Donaldson, who powered a ball to left field for a double in the first inning. One catches Navarro, 0-1. How about the power in Donaldson's bat?
Well, the most amazing part is the power doesn't diminish just because he hits it to the opposite field. He's got big power to all fields. Donaldson originally came up as a catcher with the Chicago Cubs through their system. Went out to Oakland. Bob Melvin finally put him at third base because nobody could play that position. He asked Donaldson if he would play there. He said sure. Turned it into an MVP performance at third. So things have worked out very well for him, and he is a dangerous hitter.
57 multi-hit games last year, tied for third in the American League. Isn't it amazing how that works out? Sometimes you just plunk somebody down at a position based on maybe even nothing more than a hunch.
Well, he wasn't going to do it behind the plate for them. So they had an opening at third. They tried 2 or 3 guys, and Bob Melvin told me that just out of desperation, they decided to throw Donaldson in there, felt he could swing the bat. And he turned into a very good defensive third baseman, so he loves it there, does not want to go back behind the plate ever again. And I can't blame him. It's a tough, tough spot. Put on the catcher's gear and get behind the plate.
In the air and foul, 1-2.
The 2007 draft, somewhat amazingly, Matt Dominguez was drafted well ahead in the first round of both Todd Frazier and Josh Donaldson.
Dominguez 12th, Donaldson compensation for Juan Pierre to the Cubs. In and low, 2-2. Goins at first, 1 down, 2-2 on Donaldson, who does have 25 strikeouts this year in 22 team games. 2-2 from Q. In the dirt, 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, you're probably wondering if Josh Donaldson has ever grounded into a double play in a situation like this.
Steve, has he ever grounded into a double play in a situation like this?
Yes, 1 time, as a matter of fact. Keep the ball down, keep it away where he rolls over it to the left side. You could very well see his second double play.
Ball 4. Second walk for the Jays today. 2 on, 1 out for Bautista. Come out to U.S. Cellular Field, select Fridays this season, and get 2 outfield reserve tickets and 2 food or drink items for just $49. Each ticket includes $8 in bonus bucks, more than enough to cover your first soda, beer, hot dog, or sausage. Visit whitesox.com/first for more information.
On the other side of the equation, Jose Bautista has grounded into 4 double plays this year, and that leads the team in that department.
Opportunity here both ways. Strike 1 to the Jays right fielder. Challenged him and got it by 0-2.
The high fastball by Quintana looks a whole lot quicker than 93 when he keeps it about letter high or above. It's one of the reasons why so many guys swing through it.
2-strike pitch. There's that high fastball again. He gets strike 3.
Big fastball upstairs for the second time tonight. Bautista goes down. Now watch Navarro. He taps the ground. Why would he do that? Because by doing that, the man at second might be giving location. If he is, well, the high fastball, you got a chance of throwing it by him.
That's a strike to Encarnacion. Such a small thing, but changes the at-bat.
It really does, because you're not going to give pitches more times than not from second base, but it's not difficult to give location.
It's a low 1-1. Encarnacion popped out to second in the first inning to finish off that bottom of the first for the Blue Jays.
We talked about this offense a lot last year. 891 runs scored. Nobody else got to 800 in all of baseball.
You feel like this offense compares well to last year's offense?
I think it's going to be just as good. They just got off to a slow start this year, but as things heat up, the ball's going to get a little jumpier here in the ballpark, and when that happens, you got a whole lot of guys in this lineup can hit the ball out of the park easily.
He's one of them, Encarnacion. Chopper foul, 2-2.
So to this point, the fastballs average 92 with a cutter the same. Change up at 85. One of the things Navarro was talking about with Quintana is don't worry about the variance in fastball to change up. Hit the spot. If it's not 10, 11 miles an hour, don't worry about it.
2-2. Couldn't coax the swing. 3 balls, 2 strikes on Encarnacion, the former Cincinnati Red. Tulowitzki to follow. Runners will go on 3-2. And ring him up. Strike 3 for Quintana. He struck out the side. 2 left for the Jays. Nobody across after 3. Of our viewers watching on Colo Telephone Company in Colo, Iowa, which is not terribly far from here in Toronto if you do it by bullet train or something like that. Steve Stone, Jason Benetti along with you. Sox are off to their best start since the World Series team.
Doing just about everything right. The bullpen's been unhittable. The starting pitching has been close to the same, and now they're starting to get some offense. Had a golden opportunity in the second, squandered it, but Jose has been also dancing on the edge, and so far it's a scoreless ball game. Both pitchers dominating to this point.
We do have a Sox math question for you coming up as well this half inning. You excited?
Unbelievably excited.
Can't contain yourself.
I will have the answer very quickly, but of course I'm disqualified.
by virtue of your wrong answers.
By virtue of my incompetence in math.
2-0 to Jimmy Rollins, and that does clip the corner according to John Tumpain. 2-1.
Middle of the order due up.
Rollins, Abreu, and Frazier, as Rollins gets the benefit that time. 3-1 from Marco Estrada. Three and 2 to Rollins, the 37-year-old, one of the 25 oldest players currently in Major League Baseball. Three-two. Fouled off by Jimmy Rollins.
Too close to take. The 3-1 pitch was off the plate. But Jimmy trying to protect, trying to hit it through the shift. See how they're pitching him, and it's all away.
Right back there in the air, third base side, and into the seats. Marco Estrada, born in Mexico, moved to the States a couple years later. Right-hander who is a former reliever, now starter for the Blue Jays. Rollins pops it up. Goins for out number 1. Show you our Sox Math question. Tweet hashtag Sox Math with your answer. First correct answer wins a prize. Do it in order as we show you. Take the number of MLB teams Darryl Boston, the Sox first base coach, played for, multiply by the number of games in the '93 ALCS between the Sox and the Jays, subtract the players with a save for the Sox in the World Series season in 2005, and add Chris Sale's current 2016 strikeout total for your answer. Hashtag SoxMath. Do it in order. Order of operations does not apply, although the multiplication is first tonight.
We do have, making an appearance north of the border, yet another autographed Altoids tin.
That's on our virtual prize shelf.
Yes. See, no doubt.
There it is,
yeah,
with the signature.
And ready to go in case you want this or that Tim Hortons franchise on our virtual prize shelf, which we couldn't bring with us.
Yeah, it kind of loads down the prize shelf with the whole Tim Hortons on top of it. 1 and 2 on Abreu. A lot of cash and prizes to win in Sox Math, but mostly prizes. On the infield, Donaldson in charge for out number 2.
Both pitches popped up were straight changes, and so far Estrada's doing what he has to do. Now he's feeling the back of his right shoulder. Normally it's not a particularly good sign, so we'll have to see if perhaps he mentions something between innings. In the meantime, he's given up just 1 hit and had the Sox lineup completely off balance.
He was in some trouble in the second inning, as you talked about, as Frazier sends this one away to the right side. 0-1. Got out of it with the double play.
2 on, nobody out after a Frazier single and a walk to Melky. The Sox came away empty.
2.
Borderline. Frazier with a look downward. 0-2. There's been some home plate hand wringing tonight with plate umpire John Tumpain.
A few people have questioned him on some pitches.
Well short of the plate. 1-2 on Frazier.
The whole series, Saunders in left field, or whoever is out there, has been playing well off the line. So they're trying to take away the alleys. In fact, both outfielders playing well off the line. Try to bunch him in the gaps.
Up the ladder on the infield again. Russell Martin called off by the third baseman Donaldson. Everything a pop-up here in the fourth inning from Marco Estrada. The Jays and Sox are scoreless through 3.5.
Bears draft headquarters at 5. Catch Sports Talk Live, where former Bear Alex Brown joins the panel as they preview the Bears' options with the 11th pick. Then at 10:30, get a complete recap and analysis of the first round on Sportsnet Central. Bears Draft Day coverage presented by Miller Lite starts tomorrow at 5 on CSN Chicago.
It is on the way. Draft Day is looming.
Pretty exciting, seeing which teams will trade up, which teams will trade down, and who winds up with who.
Quintana with the first pitch strike here in the home fourth to Troy Tulowitzki. A visit from the fastball. Jammed him this time. Melky Cabrera on the move forward for out number 1.
Between innings, Marco Estrada, who was grabbing the back of his right shoulder on the mound, carried it over into the dugout and eventually disappeared into the clubhouse. And he was still feeling the effects of something. Talked to Russell Martin a bit, and then he grabbed a baseball and disappeared down into the clubhouse. So we'll have to see how that plays out.
Well, the Jays bullpen has scuffled this year, so if they were forced to go early into the pen, that would be bad news for John Gibbons. Strike 1 to Dominguez.
So losing a starter for any length of time, the caliber of Marco Estrada, is not good news for this ball club.
He opened the season on the DL, activated back on the 10th. Quintana drops in strike number 2 on Dominguez, who was 15 for his last 31 with AAA Buffalo before coming up yesterday.
Hit the ball awfully hard the first time up. Adam Eaton making a nice catch.
Abreu in position, out number 2.
That was a good pitch. That ball was a good 3-4 inches off the plate inside. Dominguez trying to get his hands out. He couldn't do it. Take a look at the location and look at Dominguez as he tries to get some semblance of the bat on the ball on that pitch that was well off the plate. Pops it up harmlessly. Jose does the honors at first.
2 out for Russell Martin. Mentioned that Estrada was hurt during spring training. He had some back tightness. He hurt his back doing a martial arts move, which I know you're very familiar with.
That quite often happens to me.
What color belt are you?
Tonight, white. I have a white belt on to go with your white shoes.
1-0 on Martin. It's fouled away, ball and a strike.
As you can see, 6 strikeouts, a high total so far. Ball's been hit in the air 4 times and only 1 hit on the ground.
2-1.
So those of you are wondering, this will be our final game on the road for Mr. Benetti as he travels home. We will travel to Baltimore, where Hawk will take over in what should be a very entertaining series against a very powerful Baltimore ball club who comes into action tonight at 11-8.
Very hitterish group.
Well, they can do it.
On Utah, 3-2 to Martin.
Pete Walker talking with John Gibbons about what was plaguing Estrada. With nobody up in the bullpen, you would assume that everything is okay, but it looks to me like Walker is looking for the phone number of the bullpen. It's probably 1-800-bullpen, Pete. As he gets on the phone, and pretty soon we'll see some action in that pen.
You think it's a 1-800 number, huh?
Yeah, I do. I think, yeah, especially, and you know, applicable rates apply north of the border. So far we saw some stirring, but nobody's throwing quite yet.
Inside corner, called strike 3. Russell Martin whisked away by the fastball from Quintana. We're through 4. Zeros on the board. Thursday, May 19th, as the White Sox take on the Houston Astros at 7:10 p.m. The first 10,000 fans get a free T-shirt presented by Prairie Farms and North Star Frozen Treats. Purchase your tickets today, whitesox.com, or call 866-SOX-GAME. That's that Milkman T-shirt. As Marco Estrada is back out here in the 5th.
Nobody's throwing in the pen, but everybody is loosening up out in the bullpen. So we'll see how Estrada fares. He obviously has some cause for concern.
One and one on Cabrera, who walked in the second.
I think Melky wanted a show bunt. One of the reasons is Donaldson is way off the line and well back at third.
Another breaking ball, 2-1 for Melky Cabrera. There's your alignment.
And that's where Donaldson was setting up before. That's why Melky showed bunt. I don't think his heart is really in it to lay one down, however.
Outside, 3 balls and a strike on Melky Cabrera, who's walked 10 times this year and struck out 6. There's a changeup.
Boy, it's a wonderful straight change. You just can't pick it up. And by a circle change, we mean that they connect the index finger with the thumb and actually throw it with the 3 fingers you have left on your hand.
Swatted to right field. Long run, Bautista, and he's in the gap to make the catch for out number 1. Here's your Sox Math answer for the night. Hashtag Sox Math. And we have a correct answer. Take the number of MLB teams for Darryl Boston. That's 4. Number of games in the ALCS, 6. 24. Minus 6. 6 players with a save for the Sox in 05. Chris Sale's current strikeout total is 32. SSS P. Knowles was first, but he's already won a prize. And frankly, the Southside Sox podcast is getting too much run on Sox Math. So we may award 2 prizes today. They do great work.
Well, also
just on the podcast, they're very nice people, but they're.
Yeah, well, you also don't want to empty out the entire virtual prize shelf because we need some virtual prizes for the Baltimore series and then coming home.
Well, we only have the one Tim Hortons franchise that we can offer you, so there you're going to have to split it. Somebody will be the assistant manager on the weekends and the manager during the week. 1-1 for Laurie. Strike 2. Downstairs, 2 balls, 2 strikes on Brett, who came into tonight with the 10th best batting average on balls in play in Major League Baseball. He bounced into a double play in the 2nd inning. Called strike 3, and that was not close, according to Honda Pitchcracks.
Get a lot of hitters most unhappy with what they construe as a shifting strike zone. And Russell Martin tells you exactly what he thinks of this pitch. Watch his glove. He brings it back, does a nice job of using his wrist, but ball was off the plate.
With that, 2 down for Avi Garcia, who popped out to second in the 2nd inning. Takes ball 1. Sox Math is bringing people together. This is one of our recent winners of Sox Math. And look at that youngster with a new Jose Abreu bleacher creature in the arms.
A very happy recipient of that prize. And it's amazing how good that little guy is at math.
It's true. All the fingers and toes involved in that
prodigy.
victory. A Sox Math smile is really a beautiful smile, isn't it, Steve Stone?
Yes, indeed.
Ball and a strike on Avi Garcia. That ball is hammered right at Saunders. If it got to the wall, they might have needed a new panel for the wall. It didn't. No score after 4.5. You should stop by.
It was very nice today.
Marco Estrada has been dealing with an apparent injury the last inning or so, and there he goes.
This time he's going to go down into the clubhouse with Pete Walker, but still nobody throwing in the pen, so at least for now he's staying in the game.
Trickling through, a base hit for Kevin Pillar, giving Estrada a little extra time, or so it would seem. Leadoff man on for the third time tonight for the Blue Jays.
When the Jays started this season, Pillar was a leadoff hitter, and he really disliked it. For whatever reason, he felt uncomfortable up there. He hit just 188 as a leadoff hitter in 12 games. Then John Gibbons decided to hit him down in the order. Tonight, it's the 8th spot. He's hit close to 400 since moving down in various positions other than the leadoff spot, so whatever it is, it's working for him.
Couple of lefties coming up for Quintana here. Going singled off of him after fouling a ball off his shoe in the third. And there's a strike. Why is that some guys just don't hit well in the leadoff spot? What do you think?
Well, perhaps the leadoff spot they're thinking about on base percentage. So they're taking more pitches than they normally would take. You're taking a hitter's normal aggressiveness away from him if he has to go deep in each and every count. Some guys just don't hit well consistently with 2 strikes. And so, quite obviously, for Pillar, it's worked well.
Laurie tracks it down, spins it to second one, and the turn is late. 4-6 on the fielder's choice. They do get the lead runner, Pillar, and Goins at first. Join us for a children-only pregame autograph session. Fans that purchase this special ticket pack can participate in an exclusive autograph session with select members of the White Sox prior to select games. To purchase, please visit whitesox.com/autographs.
That was a pretty good play by Laurie as he was moving away from the throw. He was moving toward first base, spun around, came very close to turning 2.
Strike called to Saunders.
That particular call didn't make him the happiest of Blue Jays around. But the plate is normally 17 inches. Tonight looks like the plate is probably close to 21 inches. The hitters have to know they got to be swinging.
As Saunders did there on a pitch in that range.
The first call set up that swing. This one was further outside than the first pitch, so if he's calling it out there, you got to go get it. Normally, Saunders probably doesn't swing at the 2 position on that on our Honda pitch tracks. You see a little more outside than the first pitch. He's had, and we're talking about Jose Quintana, 12 0-2 counts tonight.
Just off the plate, very close to the first 2.
Now you throw that face high fastball because his sight line is looking low and away. And if he gets it up there, either has to lay off because he won't catch up to it. Let's see what Deanna wants.
Some early jeering from the Rogers Center crowd. Haven't been that many throws to first. Usually second and third throw, maybe you'll get a boo or 2.
They're getting their advance booing in, just in case he thinks about going back there again.
One and 2. Strike 3 called.
Alvaro wants it away. Jose gets it about the outer third and down, but it has a piece of the plate. You see as it crosses the knee at the top of the front knee. Saunders most unhappy. And he's still unhappy. 8 Ks for Q.
Strike one to Donaldson. Pitch count at 76 right now for 8 strikeouts. Still has maybe a couple innings left in him.
Has a couple of walks, 3 hits, and he's pitched out of some jams.
He's still yet to get Donaldson out this evening. Goins only to second on that well-struck baseball.
Now watch Donaldson. This pitch is away. He's able to reach out on the off-speed pitch and take it into left field. So it sets him up once again for Bautista, who hasn't had a whole lot of contact tonight.
He's seen 7 pitches, 6 have been strikes, and he's punched out twice.
This would be an excellent time, and I don't see any sign from Jose. An excellent time to go behind Donaldson at first base.
Why is that?
Well, number one, he's not thinking about it. He's thinking about getting a good jump on anything hit on the ground to take away the force out at second base. Then it's very much up to the first base coach to let him know that Jose is sneaking behind him. I'm talking about now you're 0-1, a high outside fastball that Ganner can throw behind Donaldson.
Ball and a strike on Bautista. Sox going for the sweep tonight. They won 10-1 yesterday behind Chris Sale, 7-5 2 nights ago in the opener. Navarro, a message for Quintana.
Tim Leeper is the Blue Jays coach at first. His sole job in this situation is to keep his eye on Abreu and alert Donaldson if he even looks like he's going to move to his left toward the bag.
Off speed and low. This is a dangerous pitch, Mr. Stone.
One of the few times that Quintana has been behind. But Bautista just not picking it up. I mean, he is mad at himself because he took a 3-1 fastball right down the middle.
Three and two coming. 2 on, 2 out in the 5th. Strike 3. 9 strikeouts for Quintana.
Team pride with White Sox checking and an official White Sox MasterCard debit card. Only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Sox to learn more. Wintrust Community Bank, member FDIC. Jose Quintana has been flirting with disaster, but so far nary a run for either side.
Jays last half inning stranded 2. They have left 6 for the night so far. The Sox with just the hit from Frazier in the second inning. A flick to left field from Navarro, and Saunders has out number 1. Family Sundays presented by Coca-Cola at U.S. Cellular Field. Featured tickets as low as $5 in the upper level and $15 in the lower level, plus special kid-focused activities throughout the ballpark. Parking is available for only $10. You can visit whitesox.com/Sundays to purchase your tickets today. No word on Kids Sox math coming to Coca-Cola Family Sundays, but the home game is actually in production currently. Strike 1 to Austin Jackson.
Well, we've yet to copyright it.
We should have done that.
Yeah, because I think it's got a huge upside.
You're turning into a draft expert now. You're talking about upside with the NFL draft coming tomorrow. Twelve in a row right now retired by Marco Estrada, dating back to the Melky Cabrera walk.
Masterful job of changing speeds, and this shows you how you can do it with a fastball consistently under 90 miles an hour. He's topped out at 90. Cut fastball at 89. Changeup at 79. 77 to 79 has been that changeup, and there's another one at 77.
What makes his changeup so successful?
If you drop your arm slot on a changeup, a hitter's going to be tipped off, and then he's going to keep his hands back even if his foot comes forward. He has the same release point for the changeup and the fastball. He also has the same arm velocity, and that's where the deception comes, because if you throw just as hard but it doesn't get there as quickly, the hitter's always going to be out front, always going to move his hands, and that's the pitcher's job. Get the hitter to move his hands forward.
Austin held up. It is ball 4 and a 1-out walk here in the 6th for the Sox.
Looks to me like the bullpen is going to start to work. Estrada doesn't look all that comfortable, despite the fact that he's working on a one-hit shutout.
Well, the Sox got to the bullpen each of the first 2 nights for at least 3 runs against the Jays relievers. There's only 1 lefty in that bullpen, the switch pitcher, and 5 right-handers. Ball 1 for Adam Eaton, who's 0 for 2. Well, we're starting to hit that window in which the Sox have scored a fountain worth of offense so far this season. 20 runs in the 7th inning, 6 in the 8th, 12 in the 9th.
Estrada has started 3 games previously, and he's averaged 6 innings per start. He's only given up 1 home run.
1-1 for Eaton. Jackson at first, and Adams behind the fastball, 1-2. Upstairs, 2 balls, 2 strikes for Eaton. Jimmy Rollins to follow, then Jose Abreu. The Sox at 15-6, 2.5 up on Kansas City, which lost last night to the Angels, thanks to an old teammate of Kansas City's. Johnny Giavotella hit a homer in that game, and he said after the game, he said, look, I underperformed there. I wanted to show them that I actually can play in a big situation, and he certainly did.
Certainly a good way to do it. Sox trying to win their 6th in a row, and there you see the pitch count, and he's been pretty masterful keeping it to a minimum.
Just missed. 3-2. There are at least 2 hitters saying, I think I saw a similar pitch.
Yeah, but that one was a little bit more outside than normal.
You send him here, 3-2, 1 out.
I personally would. We'll see what Robin has in mind.
There goes Jackson. Eaton takes ball 4.
2 walks in a row, and normally you're not going to see that kind of wildness from Estrada, so a good opportunity to try to take advantage of it. So far, not much happening with just the 1 hit.
So Jimmy Rollins was grounded out to first and popped out to second. Both on the right side of the infield. Inside, ball 1.
Well, Jimmy Rollins has some power. I know he's only hit 1 home run, but he's hit a couple of balls awfully hard to right and right center. With that in mind, Bautista a little more shallow in right than you would expect. And they're going to run on him if they get a chance.
Ball really fades over the inside to a left-hander.
You can understand where Saunders would be close in left field. Jimmy hardly ever hits the ball there, but in right field, that's a shallow right field.
Rollins with his 230 career home runs. You mentioned the power in that bat. He hit 30 of them in his MVP season with Philadelphia, along with 20 triples.
Huge year and a great place to hit in Philadelphia.
Eaton at first, Jackson at second. Still no score. And a 1-2. Strike 3.
He hasn't thrown many of these. That's a curveball, and he gets Jimmy well out in front of it. Completely surprised because Rollins hasn't seen that.
2 on 2 outs for Jose Abreu. Went right back to the breaking ball. 1-0. Jose just 8 for his last 60, although one of those 8 was a game winner in the sweep against Texas. Isn't it amazing what the Sox are doing, considering a piece that you know is going to be there isn't having his typical start to the season?
Well, you take a look at the pitching staff, both the starters and the bullpen, and you realize that when you're not giving any up, you don't need that many to win.
Checked it up, took a strike, 1-1. Marco Estrada with his second inning with 2 runners on against him so far tonight. One and one on Abreu. He drives it center field. Pilar is back there. Long ride, but not long enough. 2 stranded against Estrada, who's made it through 6. which was before Steve Stone's time.
Didn't pitch in this ballpark. It's a pretty good park to pitch. Spacious alleys. You get a center fielder who can go get them, as Pilar can, and it really helps you. So far, both pitchers dominating, although Jose Quintana has been on the ropes. He has not broken yet.
Well, we're going to find out exactly how Steve did against the Blue Jays, though, at the previous home at Exhibition Stadium this half inning. It's another edition of Sticks and Stone.
That was a delightful ballpark, by the way.
Was it?
Oh, yeah. Really nice. The wind and the pigeons were huge factors in that ballpark.
The pigeons were factors.
Pigeons, seagulls, a lot of birds of prey.
1-0 on Encarnacion. So many follow-ups. So little time. There's a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Wasn't it Randy Johnson who threw a fastball and a bird dove in between mound and plate?
He did.
And it didn't go so hot?
Not for the bird,
or our avian friend?
No.
Right field. Eaton driven back, still going. Adam Eaton did it. He hauled it in against the wall. Unreal what he's done in right field.
Best part of this for Eaton was the fact that it's kind of a chain link fence at that point. He doesn't have to run into the wall, but he goes up high and comes away without any bumps and bruises. What a terrific play, a great jump. Encarnacion hit it a long way to the opposite field.
His back may look like the inside of a waffle maker, but it will be worth it for Adam Eaton. Strike 1 to Tulowitzki. Got a round of applause from Bobby Thigpen, Sox bullpen coach as well.
It was applause worthy, and you know that Jose Quintana was giving him a silent round of applause from the mound. What a defensive play. Even more important because it leads off the inning. Would have been 2 bases for sure, maybe more.
Encarnacion robbed, and Quintana misses inside. 2-1 on Tulowitzki. Well, we told you earlier, Adam Eaton came into tonight leading in one of the defensive numbers, defensive runs saved, which tells you exactly how many more runs you've kept off the board than the average fielder. 2-2 on Tulowitzki.
Adam has done it all this series. Some great throws, even better catches, and one time turning a double into a single.
Close pitch, didn't get it. 3-2 on Tulowitzki.
In the first game was a 1-run lead, and Michael Saunders hit a vicious 1-hopper that looked like it was going to the wall. Adam leaped up, kept it to a single, and in a 1-run game, that's a huge play.
Tag to center field, Austin Jackson with space for out number 2. Tonight's edition of Sticks and Stone after those lengthy fly balls. John Mayberry, how'd he do against you, Stoney?
No, this wasn't good. He was a powerful left-hand hitter. I have a feeling that John of Mayberry hit the ball very well against me. Not only in his times with the Torontos, but also with the Kansas Cities.
More HR than RFD.
Yeah, I don't think this is a great matchup for me.
There's a strike to Dominguez. How not great?
Not really great. Enough that if there was all John Mayberries, I would have been selling cars much sooner.
0-2 on Dominguez, who didn't like the call, and John Tempane with some discourse into the Blue Jay dugout.
I have a feeling they have been a little disappointed with the strike zone tonight. Nice stop by Gianna Navarro. That ball sweeping low and in. You would have to say that John tonight has been the quintessential pitcher's umpire. It's gone for both sides.
1-2 this time for Dominguez. And it missed. 2-2. Let's show you the answer to tonight's Sticks and Stone.
I'm going to look away.
Well, 12 out of 47, about 250. but the extra base hit numbers were rather voluminous.
He has 3 home runs, 3 doubles. He had a triple. Yikes! Really? That's surprising.
He did. Blame your fielder. Somebody must have misplayed it. Here, by the way, we dug up the microfiche on this. John Mayberry against Steve Stone.
I got to figure it was a uniform.
A lot of fans at that ballpark that night.
Oh, yeah, that was. I mean, that ball should have been caught, obviously. I don't think he hit it quite hard enough against the wall.
Inside ball 4. Dominguez is on base. I tell you, he could have made that play. Adam Eaton would have made that play.
Yeah, whoever was out there, they both should have been able to make that play. They were playing him too low.
The old vertical shift. 1 on, 2 out for Russell Martin, who's been quiet tonight. Back in the lineup after the neck injury kept him out the first 2 nights of this series.
I'm surprised that more catchers don't wind up with neck injuries and herniated discs, because those foul balls off the mask, I mean, they come back and jolt you, and that pushes your head straight back with all the strain being on the neck muscles and the vertebrae. Not surprising a veteran catcher would have those problems.
Most taxing position by far?
By far. Yeah, there's nothing compares with the beating catchers take. I particularly like the foul balls off the shoulder. I started a catcher.
You did?
Yeah, I did. Taught for 4 years. Figured there has to be a better way, because at the time they could run into the catcher. That wasn't fun, because I was a dwarf in those days.
Only those days.
Well, yes. I mean,
2-1. Inside, 3 balls and a strike on Martin with Pilar on deck, and suddenly a 2-out, nobody on situation has turned into a possible Jays rally and a scoreless tie.
tough pitch to Russell Martin. Pilar is waiting if Martin can keep it alive. Wants a sinker away.
And he's got it on the corner, 3-2.
Perfect pitch, exactly where Navarro wanted it. This is the 7th time he's gone full. And pitch number 104 on the way.
And a throw to first with Dominguez not straying far from the bag.
With the size of the plate, if he gets the ball exactly where he got it the last time, he's going to get him.
3-2. Strike 3 swinging. 10 punch outs for Jose Quintana. 6 complete, no score. Ceremonies of the 2016 Summer Olympic Games in Rio. Over 10,000 athletes, 206 nations. They'll compete, including Chicago area hopefuls like swimmers Connor Dwyer and Matt Grievers and Elena Deladon from the Chicago Sky. Every event available live on the NBC family of networks starting August 5th, ending through the closing ceremonies August 21st. Jose Quintana, long night runners on the bases, has kept him off the board, though.
He's only had one 1-2-3 inning. He's made some huge pitches when he's had to and fanned 10 of these Blue Jays.
Sixth career start with 10 strikeouts or more for Jose Quintana this evening in Ontario.
In the meantime, got to get something going because another no decision looming large for Jose.
We discussed this, so last time he started, he got the triple play, so he's back even.
Well, so far, he's facing a mound opponent who's only given up one hit. That leadoff base hit to the man who's leading off this inning.
2-1 to Frazier.
This is what they've done so far. 4 hits, 10 strikeouts, 1 hit, 4 strikeouts. Both have walked 3.
That inside corner to right-handers has been there and then some all night.
It's a corner in abundance, and Todd Frazier is letting Tom Payne know that maybe that 22-inch plate not very hitter friendly.
Fouled back by Frazier.
That one hit just to the right of us. You would have had a souvenir to take with you as you clear customs by yourself tomorrow.
Do you have anything to declare? Oh,
yes.
Foul ball. But that's all. Frazier to left field, and that ball bounces into the gap where it's cut off by Saunders. Solid play there to make sure that Frazier was held to a single. He's 2 for 3.
There's the biggest difference on the artificial surface.
7th inning has been where the Sox have gotten their runs most prominently this year.
Back to the artificial surface, that slowed the ball down. Normally on a regular surface, that ball's going to scoot by and go to the wall. So it looks like the bullpen's going to start to stir, and a promising way to start the 7th.
Former Blue Jay Melky Cabrera is up. Bullet for a strike to Melky, who's 0 for 1 in this game and 1 for 9 career against Marco Estrada.
So with Estrada averaging 6 innings per start, he's already by that. Jesse Chavez loosening up in the pen. He has been occasionally a starter during the course of his career. I remember him with Oakland. Zach Duke on the other side of the field, getting loosened up in the pen.
Haven't seen Zach Duke for a couple of days. He last threw in the finale against Texas on Sunday. Tulowitzki, Goins, safe. Melky beat it out. Slow developing double play, and they only get 1.
Looks like Goins was well away from second base. Off balance throw, but he gets it over there, just not in time. And Melky hustling down the line, knowing that he's got to beat this throw, and he's able to just get there.
So instead of the double play, just the fielder's choice and 1 out with Brett Lawrie, another former Blue Jay, standing in. Brett, born in British Columbia, takes a strike. He's had 7 walks his last 7 games, along with 9 strikeouts his last 6 games. A lot of action at the plate, and not necessarily in the field of play for Brett recently. Nothing in 2. Dandy from both pitchers tonight. Estrada and Quintana in different ways, really.
And if you're a base runner here, you're looking for anything in the dirt to take off if it gets away.
0-2. It's down. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Good spot for an 0-2 pitch, but he kept it out of the dirt.
Well, there's a huge hole on the right side of the infield with Melky Cabrera held on by Dominguez.
He went out to try to get that straight change. Fortunately, cued it off the end of the bat.
Pitch number 104 from Estrada. Lost steam on the changeup. It had the zone for a while.
Brett took it, which is pretty much taking your at bat, leaving it in the hands of John Tumpane, who has been calling a whole lot of strikes tonight.
Cabrera at first, 2-2 on Laurie. Went fastball, right side, foul ground, and no play for Bautista. Where do you go here if you're Estrada on Laurie?
Face high fastball. But he hasn't shaken off Russell Martin very much, so he's going to go with what Russell calls. That looks like the off-speed pitch away.
Never got to home. 3-2.
Nice pick by Russell Martin. Looks like Nate Jones has joined Zach Duke in the pen. Pilar, Goins, and Saunders, 2 left-handers, due up in the 7th.
3-2 for Laurie, 1 down. And he fouled it off.
Melky was going, trying to stay out of the double play. He has a couple of words for Ryan Goins at second. Now Melky's taking a long look at Joe McEwing at third base to see if he wants him to go again. It's usually a good time for a pitcher to go to first base. This is going to be an outside fastball.
Just fouled at third.
Hit that ball hard, but unfortunately got out a little too quickly, and Melky on the run again.
So it'll take a 10th pitch on Laurie late in the game, 7th inning. No score. Sox have won 5 in a row. 3-2. Outside and low, ball 4.
Good at bat by Brett Lawrie as he battled, spoiled some good pitches, kept the at bat alive until Estrada missed with a changeup away. And here's a man who's probably hit the ball harder than anybody in the lineup tonight. Lining out last time on a ball that looked like it was rising as Saunders picked it out of the air.
So the Jays, with a bullpen that has been rather beleaguered this year, have Estrada on the mound leaning on 110 pitches.
We've already seen Chavez once in this series. That was in the opener. He struck out a couple of guys and got out of what was turning into a troublesome ninth inning.
That's low for Avi Garcia, who's 0 for 2, but 4 for 9 in this series. And on that Jays bullpen, 4.03 ERA. That's 12th out of 15 in the American League. Estrada 1-0 to Garcia. Strike called.
Melky can actually get a bigger secondary lead than he's getting, because so far Tulowitzki and Goins not paying any attention to him at second base.
One and one. Fouled back into the right. 1-2 for Garcia.
He got one hittable exactly where he wants it. 89-mile-an-hour fastball. It was up and out over the plate.
Estrada breaking a sweat in a lengthy inning so far. Just the fourth batter. He threw 10 pitches to Laurie. 1-2 for Avi. He lays off. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Martin's been awfully good behind the plate tonight, making sure that nothing has gotten by him.
Two and two. Marco Estrada, with this next pitch, will have the 3rd most pitches he's ever thrown in any outing.
And the most pitches that any Blue Jay starter has thrown this year. So this an extended outing.
Number 115 forthcoming. He got him swinging. Two away.
It's his best pitch, the straight change out of the zone. And now it's up to the former Blue Jay, Deoner Navarro.
Most pitches anybody's thrown all year in the majors in one game. Tanner Roark, 121 for the Nationals. Illinois native Tanner Roark, by the way.
Nationals right now, a pretty good team to pitch for.
Leading the National League East.
14-5, 2-game lead over the Mets.
0-1 on Navarro. Estrada is 1 strike away. Deoner last night with a big hit.
R.A. Dickey on the mound, and home run number 2. R.A. Dickey is aghast.
Two strikes on Navarro. He serves it into right center field. Bautista is back. It splits the difference. Rolling back into play. The Sox take the lead. They get a couple. It is 2-0 here at Rogers Center. Deoner Navarro, the former Jay, gives them the lead.
And a huge break that ball stayed in the ballpark, because it hit the top of the wall and bounced back toward the field of play. If it bounces out, it's only going to be 1 run, not 2. He gets that pitch down and puts a charge into it. With that first White Sox run, E-Click Lending will donate $100 to the Pat Tillman Foundation, supporting military veterans and their families. So the high bounce and the triple by Navarro, which is, I would assume, a rarity. Not the high bounce, but the triple.
Jays are going to make a pitching change. Estrada is done. The Sox have the lead. They score in the 7th again. And we'll step aside.
It is Jesse Chavez who'll take over for Marco Estrada, who was pretty good tonight. On for the 9th time, entirely out of the bullpen. The ERA 2.35. The 12 big strikeouts in 7 2/3 innings. So Chavez, who was both a starter and a reliever for Oakland, finds himself working entirely out of what has been a beleaguered pen for these Jays.
Deoner Navarro may have beaten his former team. That's his first triple since September 27th of 2012.
He saved it up. He took a bounce back over the head of Pilar as it hit the top of the wall, came back to the field of play, and it kept rolling around. And Deoner into 3rd.
5th career triple at a huge time. Austin Jackson in the air, deep to right field. This one carries it off the wall. And one more to the 7th inning. Jackson racing for 3rd. 3-0.
I think it's going to be a double E9. Navarro scoring, and there's something about the 7th inning that brings out the best in this ball club. Austin crushes this ball over the head of Bautista. Looked like he was going to be satisfied with a double, but Bautista has the ball drop out of his hand.
So Marco Estrada, who had a shutout going, gives up 3 hits, and at least right now is likely the losing pitcher tonight.
They gave him a triple on that, which I'm sure that Austin would gladly take. However, it was a double and an error.
Back-to-back triples for the Sox in the 7th inning. He did not go. So Adam Eaton sees the count at 2-1.
Another good play by Russell Martin as he dug one out of the dirt. Navarro with 8 driven in. Jackson with 7.
Has just thrown somebody out from the Blue Jays dugout. Here comes John Gibbons.
I think this has been boiling up. John has not been happy with the calls, and finally it took an appeal play to 3rd base. It's kind of interesting that John is airing out John Tumpain.
Dan Isonia, the second base umpire and crew chief, has come over to get in between the two. John Gibbons is going deep into the Oxford English Dictionary.
Yes, he's saying, I believe that he swung at that ball.
Nonsense. Well, John Tempain had been hearing it from both dugouts on the strike zone tonight. And when you are on the verge of being swept at home, plus that, it all starts to boil over the top of the pot.
Well, normally you don't see a manager charging at the home plate umpire when an appeal is made at third, and the third base umpire, who had a good look at it, said that he didn't go. The third base umpire is Alan Porter tonight.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, 2-1 for Eaton. Jackson at third, 2-2.
The Magic's 7th inning. That's what it's been all year long.
23 runs in the 7th inning this year. 3-2. It's not over yet.
I thought it had been a long time since the Sox have had back-to-back triples, but it was last year in July. So not that long ago. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. 3-2 from Chavez. Misses. The inning continues. 8th batter, Jimmy Rollins coming. Join the free WhiteSox.com blacklist for exclusive club content all year long, including ticket offers, breaking news, special event invites, and more. Visit WhiteSox.com/blacklist to register today.
I would think that DeMarlo Hale is probably the acting manager. He's the bench coach, and that's normally what happens when the manager is given the heave-ho.
Well, a little insurance possibly here for the Sox, leading 3-0 after a scoreless draw through 6. Fastball outside, 2-0. Abreu next.
And although Quintana has been pretty good through 6, this is an explosive lineup. You can add on a run, best to do it.
From first to second, Eaton into scoring position.
Good heads-up base running. He realized that Chavez, struggling with his control, didn't pay any attention to him, so he took off. And now a base hit really hurts.
Eaton's got great speed. Might be 5-0 with a single. Nice pitch, 2-2. How about this offense? Late in games.
Dormant for 6, explosive in the 7th.
Two and 2. Center field. Kevin Pillar has it sized up, but the Sox take the lead, angling for a sweep. 2-run triple. Deoner Navarro. Estrada can only lose. The Sox by a triple. Follow White Sox baseball live with the MLB.com at Bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with game day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your smartphone and tablet. A lot of approved electronic devices and an approved left-hander out of the pen for the Sox, Zach Duke.
Comes on with a sweeping breaking ball to Pilar, who's 1 for 2. So 6 innings for Quintana. No runs, 4 hits.
And a pop-up on the right side of the infield for out number 1.
Quintana struck out 10 tonight. So we'll look at Zach Duke on for the 13th time. He's been the busiest man out of the pen. His ERA 2.57. And a total of 7 innings worked. And now with the 2 left-handers, he's going to face Goins and Saunders. I would think if the inning is still alive, he would not face Donaldson.
I'm not the pitching guy, but you get the righty out first and set yourself up, bases clear, 2 lefties. Pretty important, right?
That was a big out. As now, you know, with only 8 to go, they're all pretty big against a team that can explode offensively. They get out in the opening game of this series to a quick 5-1 lead and looked like they were going to blow it open, but for some excellent work out of the Sox pen.
There's that breaking ball from Duke to the left-hander.
By the way, we didn't tell you about the roster move. Daniel Webb has been added to the bullpen as Miguel Gonzalez has gone down. But in relief of Gonzalez, Putnam, Jennings, Albers, and Robertson in that first game, and the pen was spotless.
We'd also like to send our well wishes to a huge Sox fan, Bob Snake Jirsa, who is undergoing treatment. Get well soon to Bob. Big Sox fan.
Just in case this inning is still alive to the Donaldson, Bautista, Encarnacion threesome, Nate Jones is ready to go.
Turned Goins inside. 3-2 from Duke. Texan left-hander, formerly of the Pirates organization, among others. Washington, Milwaukee. 3-2. Quick pitch, fouled away.
Pretty good idea by Zach. He'd been using a long, slow delivery and thought if he altered that delivery, he might be able to sneak it by Goins, who fouled it off hard to the left side.
Called strike 3. Duke painted him on the outside half.
Well, out of the many pitches that have been disputed, this shouldn't have been one of them. This is just a terrific pitch. It had most of the plate. Goins could not pull the trigger. And doesn't get much better from Zach Duke.
Ball no strikes to Saunders. 1-1.
Pretty big at bat here because the Sox have failed to retire Donaldson in 3 at bats. A walk sandwiched in between a double and a single.
Laurie on the outfield surface. A 1-2-3 inning for Zach Duke. Exactly what Robin and Don Cooper wanted. After 7, 3-0. Pale Hose. Wisconsin upcoming schedule. Brought to you by Travel Wisconsin. Plan your fun today at travelwisconsin.com. Sox will be in Maryland for some crab cakes for a 4-game series. Then back home. Good seats still available for the Red Sox and the Twins. By the way, this day in American history, in 1773, Parliament passed the Tea Act. And you know how that went for the Red Sox, folks. There was a large party because of it.
We've got a new pitcher coming in the ball game, and it is Ryan Tepera, who was here last year with the Blue Jays for 32 appearances, this being his first of the year. You see the numbers last year. So getting an opportunity out of a bullpen that has been used quite a bit and not near as effective as John Gibbons needs them to be.
Gibbons ejected from this game, arguing an appeal call over at third, but balls and strikes were also part and parcel to the issues this evening. Through the middle, base hit for Abreu and a leadoff single for Jose, his first hit tonight. On Gibbons, by the way, he was drafted in the same first round in 1980 as Sox bench coach Rick Renteria. How about that?
John Gibbons, a former catcher, as you take a look at Jose going back up the middle. No chance at all for Tulowitzki. So an opportunity in the late innings to tack on another run or two.
Todd Frazier 2 for 3, couple of singles against Marco Estrada, the starter. Popped it up. Dominguez fading, makes the catch. This is how much draft day has changed. Rick Renteria, I was talking to him before the game about this. He said, when I was drafted, there you see 20th overall, I was in school, I was in math class. One of our counselors came to the room that I was in and called me out of class and said, hey, why are you in school? And Rick said, what do you mean? The counselor said, you've been drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're trying to reach you. You have to go home right now. There were no cell phones. There was no Twitter, none of that. He didn't even know he was picked.
That can happen, but usually not in the first round.
Yeah, usually you're not going to get blindsided by 20th overall, right?
No.
You remember your drafting?
I do, and I know because there was no Twitter, I wasn't alerted either. But I was drafted in the 16th round. Found out on television, actually.
3-0 on Melky. Sox up 3-0.
Drafted by the Indians and being a local product of Cleveland, they neglected to call me. So I was watching Jim Grainer Sports, and he mentioned it.
Ball 4. 2 on, 1 out. Was that in the D block, as they say on local TV news, or were you the headliner?
No, that obviously was not a headliner, not in the 16th round.
You were the kicker, as they say. You were essentially the squirrel on water skis.
Did not sign, as a matter of fact.
You didn't?
No, waited and then drafted by the Giants and did sign.
So you kind of buried the lead. That was just your first draft day, not the one that
right.
you eventually owned. 2 on, 1 out. And that's down to Brett Lawrie. You mentioned Daniel Webb, just up from Charlotte.
Well, you have to figure, if you do score, you see Daniel Webb. If you don't score, you see Nate Jones. To face the terrible threesome, Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion.
Terrible in that you don't want to face him.
No, you don't want to face him. And in fact, the Jays aren't hitting the ball as well as they will. And the Sox are hoping that they take it out on the Central, because this team is going to score a lot of runs. When you score almost 900 runs last year and you return almost the same exact lineup, you figure that they're not going to stay offensively dormant for long.
Jays will play at Tampa Bay, then Texas and the Dodgers before a trip to San Francisco next. 2-1 for Laurie, who walked and scored as part of that 3-run 7th inning.
Kind of surprising, but the Blue Jays actually leaving after the game tonight. With that off day tomorrow, they'll have the entire off day in Tampa Bay. Something that a lot of teams don't do. A lot of teams travel on the off day.
High fastball, 2-2 for Laurie from Tepera.
Tepera from Lake Jackson, Texas. 6'2", 190.
Fouled just short of our booth. Still 2-2. He was the wins leader for the Lansing Lugnuts in 2010. Ryan Tepera. An A-ball.
A wonderful distinction.
Lugnut leader. 2-2. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
For those of you who've never seen the cap of the Lansing Lugnuts, the emblem is a smiling lugnut. Handsome little guy.
They're cute when they're young. 3-2 for Laurie. Donaldson going safe. Inning alive.
The Jays have had one double play. They've tried it 4 times, haven't been able to get it done. And this time, hustle by Laurie, able to keep the inning alive for Avi. Now they're thinking about making an appeal, I believe, at first base. I think he beat the play, but they're taking another look at it.
See if there is a challenge.
And if you weren't with us earlier, DeMarlo Hale is now the acting manager as John Gibbons has been thrown out of this game by John Tumpane. So on further review, never mind.
There's Hale. Avi Garcia standing in. By the way, we were talking about the Lansing Lugnuts. Their announcer, I think it's pretty cool. Once a year, his name's Jesse Goldberg Strassler. He does an old-timey recreation of a game. He doesn't watch the game. He just sees it come through and does like Ronald Reagan used to do. Uses wood blocks and everything like that to recreate the game. Via teletype.
Not a bad idea. In fact, he might parlay it into the presidency.
So that's the prereq.
Sure.
For the White House?
One of them.
No. One of those basketball rings. 2 strikes on Garcia. Missed the corner by a hair. 1-2.
I'm sure that Russell Martin is not saying, hey, that's been a strike all night on both sides. He wants it away. He sets up out there. Ball actually comes back. Can't sell it.
Outside, 2 balls, 2 strikes from Tepera. Abreu at third, Laurie at first. There's the, oh, that's an angry one-toothed lugnut.
Yeah, that's a beleaguered Lansing lugnut.
They need Jack Ruby.
Then he would be eating gruel the rest of his lugnut life.
The venerable dentist. 2-2 on Garcia. Slash to center field. It gets down. Abreu scores. Laurie coasts into third. 4-0 Sox.
We highlighted Avi Garcia for having probably the best series of his year, and this is a slider that stays up. He crushes it into center field, driving in his 8th run of the year, and late runs as Villar takes his high off the chest. That hop surprised him. Normally, that's why you have a glove.
So it's up to Deoner Navarro, whose 2-run triple gave the Sox the lead.
Biggest hit of the ball game by far. Marco Estrada had been close to untouchable, and with 2 outs in the 7th, Navarro came up and put a charge into 1. So not only has he tagged up and scored from third base, a sacrifice fly of some length when the outfielder fell down, but now he runs it into a triple for the first time since 2012.
How about the wheels on Deoner Navarro?
Just like we promised earlier in the game, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Here's our Miller moment. Estrada trying to battle his way out of the 7th, but it's not to be. It's high off the wall, bounces over the head of Pilar, and the flying feet of Navarro wind up at third base.
This'll do it. Dominguez stops the bag, but the Sox tack on one more. Abreu plated by Avi Garcia, 4-0. Duke protecting the lead. Sox got one more, and Nate Jones is on, Steve.
And Nate Jones to face Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion. And Nate has been just like the bullpen, almost unhittable. 1-0, .93 ERA, on for the 11th time. Got 9 strikeouts and 9 2/3. But this threesome is a challenge for anybody.
Donaldson's been on all 3 times tonight, and he watches a close pitch. Ball 1. Foul of third, 1-1.
Our intrepid reporter, one of the many we have on staff, Jim Canatero, alerts me that since the Sox trailed 5-1 in this series, they've outscored the Blue Jays 20-1. And on the verge of sweeping them with 6 more outs.
Rollins on the charge, has some time. About a step worth. Out number 1.
I think the beauty of this game is that it's been 90 feet to first base for a long time, a very long time. And yet it doesn't matter how fast the runners are. It doesn't matter what generation it happens to be. But if you're at shortstop, if you field the ball cleanly, you can get it to first base. one step ahead of the base runner. It's amazing because they change a lot of things in sports, but not the baselines in baseball.
Been 90 feet for a long, long time as Bautista, who struck out 3 times, starts it at 0-1.
Nate is pretty hard to pick up with that unusual motion in a fastball that ranges anywhere from 96 to 100.
In the air, third base side, Frazier and Rollins. Todd Frazier stationary for out number 2.
Good slider that time. And Bautista's had a tough night. That's the first time he's made contact in 4 at-bats. Time now for our Xfinity high-speed action replay, and it comes with some brilliant defense once again from Adam Eaton. Encarnacion bidding for a 2-base hit. It was not to be as Adam goes up, crashes into the fence, and takes it away. That was leading off the 6th inning, and a walk was to come later, so it turned out to be a very big play.
Heard you and Hawk talking about it during that road trip a couple of weeks ago, how important defense can be in a baseball game.
Well, number one, it makes the pitching staff look much better. It convinces guys to just throw strikes. Long, tough play.
Jump throw from Rollins, and he got him. There's that defense. 4-0 after 8. With the lead over the Jays with late runs again. 3 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th. How about Jimmy Rollins, Steve?
He goes into the hole and he realizes off balance he can't get it there on the fly. He uses the artificial surface and the skip beats Encarnacion by a step. The defense continues to sparkle. The pitching has been wonderful. And the Sox, looking for their 5th shutout of the year, is a very happy Jimmy Rollins. Sees his club get out of a very dangerous 8th inning, and now Gavin Floyd comes in the ball game to pitch the 9th.
It's a 37-year-old gentleman at shortstop making a dandy of a play.
There you look at the numbers. On for the 8th time. Gavin Floyd, who came on in the opener, was not charged with a run, but he gave up a very big hit, a double to Todd Frazier. That scored both the tying and the eventual winning run.
Sox were down in the opener 5-1 after 3 innings. They scored 6 unanswered, won 10-1 yesterday, and lead 4-0 tonight. As Jackson parks that one in the seats, still 1-2.
Jose Quintana is going to be the beneficiary of some late runs, and he'll run his record if in fact they eventually win this one to 3-1. David Robertson getting loosened up in the pen.
Well, it was a tired out bullpen for a while, the Sox, but Robertson threw in the opener for 1 inning, got the day off yesterday as Jackson hacks this ball to the gap in right center, nearly a carbon copy of his last one, and it bounces off the top of the wall and over for a ground rule double.
Two for 3 tonight with a triple and a double. He crushes this fastball. It would have been back-to-back triples for him if this one stays in the park. But this one hits the top of the wall on a bounce and bounds out.
Austin Jackson now 2 for 3. RBI triple and a double to his name. He's off from second and gets to third. Eaton is out. So on that 2 for 3 from Austin Jackson, the slugging percentage coming in was at .281, and now that power is starting to build. We've seen it in previous seasons when he was in the AL Central.
He's a big factor at the bottom of the order, and if he starts hitting it and then you roll over to Eaton, the Sox, who have been, if not prolific scorers, they've been opportunistic scorers, especially late in the game, and now the infield in at all 4 positions.
And shifted for Rollins.
A 0-0 game through 6. And then 2 outs in the 7th. Yanner Navarro breaks it open.
The Sox entering play today had scored 78 runs, with 39 of those, exactly half, coming in the 7th inning or later.
Been pretty amazing. And all of them tonight, the 7th inning and later.
That's
Still
make
looking
it
for more.
It's going to make it more than half now.
Yes, it will. Considerably more, as a matter of fact. Maybe 52%.
2-1. Infield in. That won't get the run home. Donaldson for out number 2. Here's an update on the picks to click. And considering the truck was pushing that, I imagined that it was going to be the crew with the victory. But this is a close one now. Why don't our fans tweet in who they think should win with the hashtag picks to click? Why
Sure.
don't you tell us who should win?
That's a good idea, but if you pick
Jason.
anybody but Navarro, it won't count.
Well, Austin Jackson's 2 for 3. He added the extra run with his first triple. You could make the argument.
You could. You'd be wrong, but you could make it.
Strike 1 to Abreu. Gavin Floyd, our old friend.
Can't believe you're lobbying this late in the going.
You get surly when you're leading, and that's an interesting combination.
You mean a bad winner?
0-2 on Abreu. I didn't say bad. I just said surly. Some people like surly. Sox are trying to build on their best start since the World Series winners in 2005. Fouled off his body. lot of tweets rolling in for me, Steve.
Yes, because that's why they're your tweets. Are you tweeting yourself to win?
That's very transparent. People could see that quite easily. 2 strikes on Abreu. Jackson at third after a leadoff double. Breaking news across the border. The Braves have their 4th home run of the year tonight.
And now it cuts the lead to 8-3 for Boston.
We'll see those Red Sox coming up at U.S. Cellular Field.
They're pretty good. They've got some really good young players. Jackie Bradley Jr.
Xander
Mookie
Bogaerts.
Betts, Xander Bogaerts. Some very good young talent with those Bostons.
Goins around second, and that'll do it. That's the Big Papi farewell tour as well, coming to U.S. Cellular Field. Sox need 3 outs for the sweep.
Baltimore, where our first place Sox kick off a 4-game series with Manny Machado and the first place Orioles. Join us for the first pitch at 6 tomorrow on CSN Chicago. Orioles leading in the bottom of the 9th, 3-1 at Tampa Bay. As you look at David Robertson, and if you're wondering why he would come in the ball game here in a non-save situation, he was probably asked, do you want to pick up an inning? Do you feel like you might need to work so that when you go to Baltimore, if they do need him in a save situation, his control will still be there. And so he's picking up an inning here at the 9th, and all right-handers to face him unless DeMarlo Hale, the bench coach subbing for John Gibbons, decides to put up a pinch hitter.
Gibbons thrown out a couple innings ago, arguing with the umpiring crew, and the plate umpire John Tempane sent him on his way. Tulowitzki first against Robertson. Strike 1.
The only thing you worry about, and that is for most closers, is in a non-save situation, can you get the same adrenaline rush as you can when you come in to try to nail a save? But we'll see how this plays out.
How much do you need that adrenaline? What does it do for you as a closer?
It just makes you a little sharper, a little more aware of things. Your pitches break a little bit more. Your velocity is a little sharper, because quite obviously your job is to save games.
Close pitch, a little bit low, 2-1 on Tulowitzki.
I think if you look at most closers and you look at higher ERAs with big save totals, most of that earned run average is picked up in non-save situations trying to get an inning in.
Two and 2 on a quaint breaking ball for Tulowitzki.
That one a knee buckler as Tulowitzki saw it spin over the inside corner.
2-2. Strike 3 on Tulowitzki. 12th strikeout today for Sox pitching.
After buckling his knees with the last curveball, here's another one, only this one's a whole lot better. The difference between the one you throw to get over the plate and the one you throw to put a hitter away.
One down for Dominguez, who's 0 for 5 since coming up from AAA, and he looks at strike 1. Left field, Melky Cabrera. Out number 2.
1 out away from the 5th shutout of the year. Of the very young season for the Sox.
Best shutout total through 22 games since 1973. The team had 6 shutouts through 22.
I was on that team. I didn't realize we were that good. I had a total of none to contribute to those 6.
First pitch, strike to Martin. Your camaraderie was tremendously helpful, though.
I was one of the great cheerleaders out of the bullpen. I was real good out of the bullpen. I think I probably had a 12-point ERA heading into my first start in June that year.
It's a big number.
I wasn't real good.
1-1 for Russell Martin. One strike away now. Ball and 2 strikes from Robertson. Sox have allowed all of 10 runs during their 5-game win streak. 2-2.
Quintana will go to 3-1. And the guy who threw very well on the other side, Marco Estrada, will fall to 1-2.
With that pitch, strike 3, and the Sox have back-to-back sweeps. This one against the Blue Jays.
It's been an amazing run on the road for the Sox, and a knee-buckling curveball, no chance at all. Russell Martin down on strikes. The 5th shutout of the year, and the Sox scoring late once again. The bullpen making it hold up for Jose Quintana. And what a series this was.
3 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th for the Sox to prop up Quintana.
This is best April. Only 1 no decision. He's never won more games than 3 in the month of April.